But welcome everybody. Be sure to hit the like button. Be sure to hit the subscribe button.
I remember in middle school when you felt self-conscious if you were the last one to go through puberty. That really went topsy-turvy, didn't it?
Sometimes the Hasbara, it's too much explaining yourself and it's too apologetic.
Be sure to hit the notifications bell.
I actually do believe Israel won't just bomb countless civilians.
Be sure to tweet this out. Be sure to put this up on your Facebook.
You have to be kind to people. Be kind to the guys in this mess in the first place.
Put this up on your Reddit.
Chile is a country.
Be sure to cut and paste, a link to this to go into your favorite Facebook chat group.
It's good to see so many normal people in here.
Now, spanking isn't just my deep, dark personal secret. It's America's deep, dark secret.
I've never seen it explained so simply anywhere.
Put this on WhatsApp. Put this on Telegram. Put this on your favorite messenger app.
Hello and welcome to the Untitled Anarchist Seagull channel. I'm your host, an Untitled Anarchist Seagull called Elise. Hello, Shakespeare. Yeah, so I'm back after a very brief birthday and getting lost in the woods related hiatus, and I've got all sorts of interesting bullshit to look at. For one thing, I'm very interested in, I've never heard of the soft take, but I've heard good things about this video about Hila Klein, who is Ethan Klein's wife and part of the sort of libel-producing entity that is the H3 podcast. I also wanted to just give a little shout-out to a smaller creator who is also following the whole Ethan Klein Hasbara arc by the name of Majd S, called Ethan Klein and his Reddit community are insanely Islamophobic, and I know I'm personally shocked by that. Let's see. I think we might start out where was it? Where I had it here. Okay, I'm curious about this soft take video, so we're gonna look at that for a little bit.
Hey guys, this is Soft Take, or newly referred as a dumb fucking moron. Hila Klein, once the reserved counterpart to Ethan. She was known for her awkward charm and subtle humor. In the early days of H3, she was the shy, friendly presence besides Ethan's loud personality. The things she would say were once lighthearted.
Okay, that showed up weird in chat.
As an Israeli, she enters today as an American. Hila, how does it feel? Tell me
I feel
everything.
like now I can really ride it, we got the flags and the balloons, I feel like every old person on a mobility scooter, they always have this personal life attached to it.
Absolutely.
And now we got ours.
Right.
To have shifted into someone who appears more vocal than thoughtful.
Aaron McIntyre.
Well, I mean,
Needs to just
that would almost be okay if it weren't for what she's so vocal about.
disappear. Yeah, Sensi, they're another one I'm ready to burn. I know you already did most of the work. I'm just
And also someone...
Oh wait, she's ready to burn. So Barak Hiram did in Be'eri. She wants to burn Sam Cedar and then blame it on the Palestinians or something, I guess.
who seems to donate money to a slop tuber who hosts a show called Ultimate Purview that picks apart sexual allegations. And also LOLCal Live, a podcast co-hosted by Keemstar, someone that
Wow, what? Yeah, I mean, such a lovely chap.
previously made her life hell. But first, who is Hila actually? She's the co-host of a podcast with her husband who's turned arguing with everyone into a full-time sport while she contributes to the show by slowly rotating in her chair. She's the founder
Slowly rotating.
and CEO of Teddy Fresh, a streetwear
Oh wow, yeah, I mean, it really is true. This is very Pootie Tang.
brand with a questionable theme that appears to sometimes allegedly borrow designs. Teddy Fresh also has a good causes section on their site, proudly listing charities they claim to support, which is a great thing. I appreciate them for doing. However, let's just say that I found out that not everything on that list checks out, which I will get into later on in the video. She loves to draw, present her unique clothing style on social media, and she is also someone that gets particularly vocal when criticism of Israel arises.
Which is the bit it's too bad this isn't like broken down into chapters somehow, because that's kind of the bit I'm curious about more than anything.
It's not like Israel's going to do a precision strike on Hassan. They don't. But it is dangerous. It's a war zone.
I mean, they do have a history of. He's talking about if Hassan went to Gaza, a place where precision strikes on journalists are kind of common by Israel.
But
he was in the running for anti-Semite of the year. They may.
I don't think you guys understand Israel. It doesn't work like
It doesn't work like that. Yeah, fuck you. Yes, it does. I mean, they targeted Rifat al-Arir because, basically Barry Weiss decided to slag him off.
She gets quite a lot of backlash. It's not because she's from Israel or that she served in the IDF.
Though, I mean, the fact that she was in the IDF and has also said that, that it's selfish to refuse to join the IDF, I would say actually does open up a fair bit of room for criticism. And wow, look at the shitty trigger discipline there. Look, finger right on the trigger. Yeah, there's no magazine in there, but that doesn't mean there isn't a round chamber. What the fuck? I mean, they really do not train them at all in the IOF.
Well, actually, that could be a reason for some. It's mostly because of the dehumanizing language.
Decent people.
She uses Palestinian and her relentless defense for Israel. Also, I just want to be clear, I don't want to make Hila responsible for Ethan's flip-outs, but you cannot be dismissed as a silent bystander while Ethan spreads false information.
Yeah, I mean, especially when she opens her mouth on the subject of Palestine, she also does. It's not like she has previously said, oh yeah, Ethan's a big Zionist, and I think that sucks. It's like, she's a bigger Zionist than he is, as far as I can tell.
When she does decide to chime in, it's either about Hassan, defending Israel, or defending their takes. Took one look at her and assumed that she's an undocumented migrant worker.
They all go with this narrative that it was his mom. It's just unbelievable.
But what about them talking about Hassan going to Gaza?
Was like, I'm thinking of going to Gaza.
You know, I found out they don't have like a 5-star suite for me with private security waiting there.
I would have bet my goddamn house that he would never step foot in Gaza. It's insanely pathetic! Somebody please! Well, and it's the same thing. Bring back the song just because, but it's kind of the same thing. Like, I was thinking about going to Gaza.
Yeah. Like, I also wanted to give
sorry guys, I'm not going to this war zone unless they can
so much to the point.
Like, I mean, so he's apparently having a go at him for saying that having considered going to Gaza, which was basically impossible for most of the past year and a half, he decided that maybe the extreme likelihood of getting killed meant it was a bad idea.
They started fantasizing how his visit to Gaza could look like.
They managed to keep the hostages alive. You can go be in the tunnels, I'm sure.
I mean, they managed it. That's not for lack of trying by Israel.
It's a high-value hostage from he's an American citizen.
Right.
They kidnapped Arabs and Muslims.
Actually, he's
just worried about Israel.
By the standard, that is just actually wrong, because being a civilian, he's kind of worthless, which is why they don't take civilians if they can help it, because Israel won't give you anything for a civilian.
Like seriously, they can take him to the tunnels and he can be safe.
If he entered through Rafah, which is the Egyptian crossing, and just went into Gaza like that, I think there's probably a more likelihood that he'd be kidnapped by Hamas than precision strike by Israel.
Yeah.
And then head a little...
yeah, because, I mean, if there's one thing, of course, Hamas would absolutely love to destroy their reputation with an extremely influential pro-Palestinian streamer. And his extremely large audience.
It's literally just a silly joke.
It comes across like a fucking pager joke.
It comes across as a pager joke.
Yeah, it is. It is fucked up.
Hassan should go to Gaza
And if he doesn't, he should be severely judged by his audience for being a
it's
total
part of
fucking
why I
coward.
judge him. He doesn't know about that conflict. He's never been to Gaza, never been to Israel. He doesn't know shit about it.
No, he doesn't.
He does not.
I'm gonna skip ahead. We're still in the summary.
You are aware that pressures from the government, military censorship, and violence against journalists are a recurring theme in the West Bank in over 15 years and are in enforcing occupation. While other nations have mandatory military service, most do not involve an ongoing military occupation of another population. Comparing Israel's conscription to countries that also have conscription, such as Switzerland or South Korea, is ignoring a massive difference. And
Yeah, although in the case of South Korea, you could say that it is conscription in the service of an ongoing occupation, but it is in the service of the ongoing U.S. occupation of South Korea.
labeling criticism
They're
towards the
occupying
iOS
themselves.
as racist against the whole country is attempting to shut down the conversation. It's just as Ela said.
It's like, if this is your argument, we're never gonna be able to talk.
Well, so far in these few clips alone, you mirrored Israeli government rhetoric by portraying refusal to serve as betrayal rather than moral stance, and you framed criticism for joining mandatory service as racism, despite the IOF's well-documented war crimes. But that's not everything. Let's keep going. Ela seems to deny Israel to children.
People are saying Israel does that on the daily, the IDF
I don't-
does that on...
I mean, they do that on the daily.
That's not what I'm talking about. See, that's what you're doing. You're excusing people being burned alive and kids being murdered. You're saying Israel does that on the daily. I'm not denying that.
Okay, I'm actually surprised to hear he's not denying that. I got the impression he kind of was.
I'm not denying that. So are you in favor of an Iraqi terrorist?
Here's my response to that, just by showing the following. An article from 2022 states 2022 to become the deadliest year for Palestinian children in the West Bank in over 15 years. An article from 2023 marks the deadliest year on record for children in the occupied West Bank.
Yeah, and it's worth noting that was so if you look at the date there, that's September 2023. That before anything else happened, it was already the deadliest year.
This article is about 1 month before the October 7th attack.
Yeah.
Now, it is worth quickly disclosing that the next few articles I'm about to show occurred after she said that she denies this. But Ela never seemed to have changed her mind about this, at least not publicly. An article from 2023, after the 7th of October, more than 3,195 children in 3 weeks. In 2024, the Gaza Strip was recognized as the deadliest place on earth to be a child. And finally, since the breakdown of the ceasefire on the 18th of March...
breakdown is kind of euphemistic. I mean, I don't think that was intentional given what we're seeing from Soft Take here. But, I mean, it didn't break down so much as Israel and the U.S. tore it up and set fire to into the shreds of it, after never complying with it in the first place.
2025, the Gaza Strip has left at least 322 children and 609 injured, constituting
Oh, I see. Breakdown was UNICEF's word, which is
a daily average of around 100
typical.
children or maimed over the past 10 days, according to an article by UNICEF.
Kids being murdered. You're saying Israel does that on the daily. I'm not denying that. So are you...
This kind of disbelief in what Israel is capable of...
I mean, and I don't really buy that it's disbelief, because it's happening right there. Like, I mean, she was in the IDF. This is what they're there for.
Seems to have rubbed off on her husband, Ethan, who portrays the country in surprisingly positive light.
People are so weird about Israel media, because, like, you'll see people all the time being like, even according to Israel media, they said this happened. Mm-hmm. But then at the same time, it's like, oh, she reads Israel media, so she's obviously brainwashing the Zionists.
I haven't actually heard somebody say that. I mean, and also there's Israeli media and Israeli media, and propaganda priorities work in particular ways. Like, it's a difference between reading the Times of Israel or the Jerusalem Post and, like, reading fucking 972 or Haaretz, which are both liberal Zionist rags and publish plenty of pro-Israel propaganda in them, but they also have factual reporting and are often much more honest and upfront about things than their, like, sister publications in the U.S.
It's It's like Israel is a free society with free press.
I mean, apart from the military censorship and what happens if Palestinians try to set up a media outlet?
Has the whole gambit.
Range of opinions in the press.
Just like America does. You know what I mean?
Israel seems to have a wide range of media sources. Calling it free press is again comfortably painting Israel in a very nice picture. When you are aware that pressures from the government, military censorship, and violence against journalists are a recurring theme.
Yeah.
And then you have
I mean, it's almost could be said to be a free press if you totally ignore what happens to Palestinian journalists, and not just since the 7th of October 2023.
calling Israel a free society here. What could it look like when Ethan, whose wife served in the IOF, comfortably states the opposite of what is widely evident? Freedom of speech, assembly,
I mean, it looks like he's full of shit.
and the right to protest are enshrined in Israeli law. But are they equally distributed? Reporters Without Borders states...
One thing that is not enshrined in Israeli law, and has never been enshrined in Israeli law, is the idea of equality before the law, it's worth noting.
Israeli journalists identified as Arab face more intimidation while working. Since the start of the war in Gaza, the authorities have intensified repression against these journalists, as well as against foreign and Israeli journalists who deviate from the government line in their coverage of the war. Organized crime networks try to restrict coverage of their criminal activities, and in the ultra-Orthodox media, women are almost completely excluded. Time, in the deadliest period for...
Yeah, you're not allowed to even show pictures of them. They, at one point, there was a bit of a scandal because an ultra-Orthodox newspaper actually photoshopped women out of a official group photo of the incoming cabinet a few years ago.
Journalists in modern history, at least 131 media workers have been killed in the Gaza Strip since the start of Israel's retaliation for the Hamas.
It's way higher. It's like 200 some now. Hey, Badger, how you doing?
October 7, 2023. International media groups are alarmed by Israel's naming 6 Al Jazeera journalists as terrorists. Article 19.
Yeah, I mean, for a while they actually denied that they were targeting journalists, and then they decided, okay, we'll just justify doing it. And now it's gotten to the point where they do it, it's just openly acknowledged, and they don't even bother to justify it.
Since Israel's war on Gaza began in October 2023, the devastating impact on journalists has been clear. They have been in unprecedented numbers, threatened and harassed. Protecting press freedom remains critical to documenting human rights violations, conveying the voices of Palestinians in both the West Bank and Gaza, and enabling...
And don't forget East Jerusalem, which
Jeremy
often...
Bowen, the BBC international editor, has accused the Israeli government of blocking journalists from Gaza because of scenes they don't want us to see. Despite all
I mean, it's weird. It's weird that is even described as accused. He didn't accuse them of that. I mean, this isn't something they deny. They don't let journalists in unless they are there as part of an official military tour and are subject to military censorship. So literally, they will only allow journalists in who agree to broadcast their propaganda.
Ethan and Hila continue to paint Israel as a bastion of free expression, and then Hila continues to reinforce a sanitized image of Israel, brushing off any real concerns about press freedom and safety.
I can't get any security assurances against Israel, obviously.
Well, bro, it's not like Israel. Look, it's not like Israel's going to do a precision strike on Hassan. They don't.
Yeah, they do.
It's a war zone. Like, I agree, it's dangerous.
It's a war zone.
They may.
But what?
He was in the running for anti-Semite of the year. They may.
Nah,
I don't think you guys understand Israel. It doesn't work like that.
They're not.
Just 3 days after the stream, American Al Jazeera journalist Hossam Shabat and Palestine Today journalist Mohammed Mansour were killed by the IOF.
I don't think you
Yeah.
guys understand Israel. It doesn't work like that.
I mean, this look on her face when she says this bullshit too. It's like, it's like this combination of condescension and like she knows that what she's saying is bullshit.
Actions. Even though reports from groups like Reporters Without Borders, Human Rights Watch, and Amnesty International show otherwise. Here are some more cases that really prove that Hila knows what she's talking about. In 2003, American student and peace activist Rachel Corrie attempted to stop the demolition of a Palestinian home by standing in front of an Israeli bulldozer. Despite her non-violent protest, she was tragically when the bulldozer ran.
And I mean, really because of it.
Over.
I don't think you guys understand Israel. It doesn't work like that.
And in response, there were, or even still, Facebook.
I was just about to say, yes.
From Israelis making fun of her by making pancakes with her face.
It doesn't work like that.
According to Al Jazeera, a report states the Israel-Palestine conflict to be the deadliest conflict ever for journalists. More journalists.
Yeah, I mean, and that is compared to conflicts that were much, much longer and over much larger area, much larger territories. Like, nowhere near as many journalists were killed in all of World War II in both major theaters of operations. You know, in 6 years covering most of Asia and most of Europe, and North Africa, of course, as well. The number of journalists killed was in the 2 digits. That's in 6 years, and it's over 200 in Gaza since October 2023.
Being in Gaza than in both World Wars, Vietnam, Yugoslavia, and Afghanistan combined, says the Cost of War Project, with Israel's war on Gaza having 232 journalists.
But what?
And I will say it once again, CPJ stated that since the war began in 2023, this has been the deadliest period for journalists since the CPJ began gathering data in 1992. Ela seems to imply that critics are uninformed. Why would Ela so confidently believe that Israel wouldn't bat an eye with Hassan coming to Gaza as a journalist?
I mean, let's leave aside also that... I mean, it's not clear to me when this discussion took place, but for the overwhelming majority of the time, the Rafah crossing has been closed. There was literally no way that he could get in. So how the hell was that going to happen?
To be one of the most
it is purely
critics
hypothetical.
Of Israel and quite a large voice for Palestine. Could it possibly mean that you might have a more biased view of the country when you are from there and have lived there for many years of your life?
He's never been to Gaza, never been to Israel.
Well, how much time have you spent in fucking Gaza, Pootie Tang?
No shit about it.
No, he doesn't.
He does not. But he talks like with such authority. Oh my god.
Maybe. Then someone in the chat calls Ela a child. And she says it's crazy.
Bloodthirsty, vile children killers are dreaming about getting people killed. What a surprise.
What reality do they live in?
The reality where that's a thing the IDF does, and you were in the IDF.
It's literally just a silly...
I mean, can we all agree that it was a mistake for Ela and Ethan to start reading chats from a Twitch streamer that they have been obsessively harassing? While the statement is incredibly hyperbolic, it does stem from the fact that she served in the IOF, even if she had a non-combative role. And yet she continues to read the chat and start...
I mean, she claims to have had a non-combat role.
To infer that these people are just being anti-Semitic.
It's also like the Jews run everything kind of vibe I'm getting, because like... Yeah, we'll send him to Israel and we'll get somebody to kill him.
But what could be the most shocking part in all of this?
I mean, I don't see how that even fits in with that, because, I mean, it is uncontroversial amongst people who are at all serious that Israel does control the territory of historic Palestine.
When Ela seems to be on the verge of revealing something she didn't intend to.
It's not a war zone, it's a genocide.
Monster 1 and Female Monster 2.
Oh, it's not a war zone, so we can't say that it's a war zone? That's not woke enough?
He's going to say it's not a war zone, it's a killing field.
No, that's what he's saying.
That is literally what he just said.
A war zone is genocide.
Okay, you can go...
Okay, call it whatever you want. It's dangerous, I admit that. Right. So disgusting.
Ela seems like she is mocking or downplaying the fact that the situation is a genocide.
Yeah, I mean, clearly. But I'm gonna just switch over and see what... It was some of the soft take. Haven't actually watched their stuff, but it looks quite good. I'm gonna switch over and look at some Aspen goldfish, who's having a normal one. So we have seen quite a lot of Ethan and
I wanted to make
the
like
Gila
a
monster.
full thoughts video on this and talk about it.
This is, if I remember correctly, about that white supremacist who said a slur to a little kid and then managed to go to a far-right crowdfunder platform where she raised a huge amount of money from white supremacists in support of her saying slurs to little kids.
But I'll probably just watch this. So apparently, again, we've
And so, I mean, obviously, Aspen Goldfish, being a totally decent person, I'm sure, is going to be appalled by this, right?
had competitive racism. And right now, this woman has raised over $500,000. There's some people that are trying to donate money to Carmelo Anthony in order to, like, even the score. But she's already overtaken him. Yep, this is, yes, we have competitive ranked racism now.
Wait, how is this competitive racism, though? Like, where's the racism in donating money to support a little black kid who was targeted with racist harassment by a grown-ass woman?
Gentlemen.
So, something very interesting has happened in the United States. I'm trying...
It's... what's this guy? Oh, yeah, Sargon of Fuckhead. Carl Benjamin, the failed UKIP candidate.
To think of a very delicate way of putting this.
You know.
Like, look at him. He's, like, lighting up. Like, he just got a fucking chocolate sundae or something, talking about, like... we know he's about to say something fucking racist.
But it seems, honestly, that just...
Fucking...
a lot of white people in America have just had enough of the way that they're treated and are...
That's what he takes away. So, yeah, I mean... But being treated by little kids who don't like having slurs said to them? Like, what?
Expected to respond to ethnic minorities, in particular black people. Now, I want to be clear that I am
we've
not...
had like things are actually heating up. Like we're gearing up for like a race war a little bit.
Oh God, I'm shocked to hear fucking Aspen Goldfish talking about a race war. Of course.
Fair, you think? I think it depends on the person, right? Like, I think that really the problem is that when a person is...
Oh, I can't wait to hear what he thinks the problem is.
...displaying and exhibiting antisocial bad behavior, that antisocial bad behavior...
You mean saying, like, fucking racial slurs to little kids? That?
...is bad objectively regardless of their race. That's it.
Okay. But we're talking about specifically racist antisocial behavior that you can't really take racialization out of that.
And so, like, the problem is when somebody observes or does antisocial bad behavior, and, like, you know, stealing or being violent or being rude or whatever, and then they're not treated like they should be, basically.
Wait, what the fuck did that have to do with anything?
Anyway, encouraging any kind of racial abuse. I do not agree that we should be racially abusing each other at all.
Oh, but he's just sort of celebrating the fact that apparently you can racially abuse little kids in the U.S. and make a shitload of money off of it.
But there is a racial angle to this issue.
You think, Carl? You think there might be a fucking racial angle to the thing where racist-ass white woman hurls racist abuse at a little kid and makes a bunch of money for having done so? You think there might be a racial angle there, do you, Carl?
And this story...
It's totally race-related.
Wow. With the hot take there. You think, Aspen Goldfish... You think it is?
It's not. There's not a racial angle to it. There's the whole thing.
What whole thing?
And I can't properly talk about it.
Well, I mean, no argument here. You absolutely cannot. Yeah, you should shut the fuck up.
Without acknowledging that's the case.
It absolutely is.
So this image is a still from a video that features...
Fucking Ass Mungold always Look at that brow furrowing. He always looks like he is very badly constipated.
She was a young lady, a young mother, called Shiloh Hendricks. Now, I'm not going to play the video
because if you did that, you would not be able to suggest that she's in any way the victim of anything.
I wonder why.
In it, she repeatedly uses the N-word because an autistic 5-year-old boy apparently stole something out of her baby bag, and she, I guess, had just kind of snapped.
And was kind of fucking kind of fucking racist, maybe also.
Just kind of had it.
So racially abusing an autistic black kid. That is exactly what happened.
And she started calling this boy the N-word. And this was recorded by a Somalian man who was, for some reason, loitering around the kids' park.
So yeah, that's the unseemly thing, that somebody recorded this, not that this woman is like getting paid to say racist shit to little kids.
We'll get to it in a minute. And she was just completely unrepentant. She was like, no, I said what I said. I'm not going to apologize.
Wow, yes, so she sucks, is what we're getting to.
I'm basically absolutely done with the way that these things keep happening
the way that these things... She's what keeps happening.
The United States.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's what she said. I'm absolutely done with the way these things keep happening in the United States. Any reason you don't want to show us the fucking video, Carl?
And I think this
named after a fucking Hardee's knockoff?
With a lot of people. And that's one might
I think what resonated with a lot of people...
Oh, I can't wait to hear what resonated with a lot of people.
Is that... I think that it is an act of, beyond it being just, there's, racist people that are donating to it.
Well, that is literally what it is. That is all it is, actually. There isn't, there is no beyond.
I think that there is a large amount of people that are tired of seeing cancel culture.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I guess you could almost say that the people who are obsessed with complaining about cancel culture are precisely the sort of people who think that they should be given large amounts of money for screaming slurs at people. I think actually, if you sort of angle that correctly, then it actually makes a whole lot of sense. You're right. I mean, so it's like really shitty people, basically, who happen to have a whole lot of money.
Where a person gets recorded getting mad about something, and
recorded getting mad about something,
then they systematically have their life destroyed.
I want to have my life destroyed like that. She got $600,000. Come on, motherfuckers, destroy my life like this, please. I mean, with the $600,000, my life needs destroying like this. I think a lot of us could do with having our lives destroyed the way her life got destroyed for racially abusing a 5-year-old autistic boy. You get out of debt.
On the internet with malicious intent. Yeah, the video and the publishing of her, for example, publishing her real name, publishing her address. The only purpose that served.
Did anyone actually publish her address? I think that her real name probably came into it when she set up a GoFundMe to get people to... I mean, not GoFundMe, the Give, Send, Go. The Nazi GoFundMe.
Is to harass her and put her life in danger. That's it. That's the only reason.
You mean just because she racially harassed a 5-year-old?
There's no other reason for that to exist.
Should provoke a national conversation in America about what...
Oh God, yeah, let's have fucking Carl Benjamin tell us what national conversations we should be having.
The standards are for white people and black people because they're not the same.
Yeah, because here's the thing. What oh, fucking hell. This should provoke a national I'm still stuck on that. I can't even get past that. to point out what complete bullshit just came out of his mouth the second time.
And we have seen repeatedly standards for black people
Oi, GGM.
never be accepted for white people, and vice versa.
Well, you mean in the sense that white people get away with shit that gets black people shot a lot?
And it's, of course, not in the white people's favor.
I mean, she got $600,000 for abusing a little kid. I think it was in her favor, actually. I mean, I know we're supposed to say that apparently it's destroying her life to have all this money. I mean, maybe she has some sort of a curse, and every dollar that is sent to her, you know, causes, I don't know, her nostrils to flare more or something. I don't know. I'm really having trouble seeing the downside for her, to be quite honest. But apparently we need to take Carl Benjamin and the goldfish asshole's word for it, that it must be there. I guess, you know, the taxes, the 1099, that's what it is.
And I think that I honestly think that part of the issues that people have with the black community stem from this permissiveness.
This permissiveness, what the fuck? We're talking about a, yeah, that's the problem, the permissiveness towards autistic 5-year-olds. Like, I mean, if there's one group of people who've had it too good for too long, it's fucking autistic black 5-year-olds. They have it so fucking easy, right? Because, you know, they get to be called racial slurs at the playground by grown-ass women who make 6 figures on the strength of them doing that. It sounds like, yeah, they've got it so fucking easy.
About letting them do things that are just otherwise unacceptable in what is supposed to be
What the fuck are you talking about, doing things that are otherwise unacceptable?
Integrated mixed race society.
Well, it's antisocial, abusive behavior, and it's bad no matter.
Note that he's talking about the 5-year-old autistic boy. For anyone who's confused about that, anyone just tuning in, he is not talking about the grown woman who racially abused him and got over $600,000 for doing so.
Does it? And I think that's really the problem of what happens, is that...
Yeah, the problem of what happens is that sometimes fucking little kids will do things they're not supposed to. That's the problem of what happens. That's the really problematic thing going on. These damn 5-year-olds.
When a person is exhibiting antisocial, abusive, violent behavior...
He's not... He keeps saying that, he like, look at his face, too, as he's so fucking earnest as he says this, knowing that he is not saying this about the grown woman who racially abused a 5-year-old.
There doesn't have to be a race component to this.
I actually don't think that this would have happened. Like, you think that she would have just called a 5-year-old white kid the N-word? You said no race component, really. I'm so glad we have these wonderful analysts. I'm glad the algorithm boosts this fucking goldfish motherfucker to give his absolutely just inimitable takes. There doesn't have to be a racial element to when a grown white woman racially abuses a black 5-year-old.
And if you're defending it...
And makes huge amounts of money doing it.
Like drawing excuses and making excuses for it because these people somehow, you know, there's a Venn diagram with identity and, you know, like...
You motherfucker, you're making excuses for a grown woman racially abusing a 5-year-old and getting shitloads of money for it. Maybe you need to stop being a moral arbiter.
Or in that Venn diagram with them, you're just excusing a person being a piece of shit.
And that's the thing. If you do that, you are abusing the trademarks of Carl Benjamin and Assman Goldfish.
By liberal standards, and I think this drives a lot of white separatist thoughts.
Oh, does it? Oh great, we're gonna talk about white separatist thought. There's nothing problematic gonna happen there.
Because, I mean, ultimately, why wouldn't you come to the conclusion that if you're being treated by one standard, another group of people are being treated by another standard?
I mean, a considerably, let's just say, much better standard. There's a reason, like, he's suggesting, that of course, it's the white people that are hard done by on all this. You know, because, she only got $600,000 for racially abusing a 5-year-old. I mean, if that isn't having it rough, I don't know what is.
And their standard is not only superior to your own, which is bad enough as it is, but it also hurts your community.
I mean, what?
You can see why people would be bothered about that, and they wouldn't want any more of this.
Wouldn't want any more of what?
Anyway, so the original...
Even Asmongold is like, okay, what the fuck does this have to do with anything?
And I actually think that the reason why this whole thing blew up and the ghost send me, like the ghost send go, or whatever the fuck it is, the reason why it blew up...
You mean other than the fact that this woman made a huge amount of money for racially abusing a little kid?
It's obviously just because of the Carmelo Anthony thing. I think if the Carmelo Anthony fund hadn't happened, this wouldn't have happened either.
You just said like 2 minutes ago that the Carmelo Anthony fund was a response to this woman getting paid over $600,000 for racially abusing him.
I feel like you needed one for the other to happen.
Well, yes, but you kind of got it backwards there. I mean,
and it's kind of like one wrong turn deserves another.
Yeah. What?
Everyone's tired of double standards? Yeah. And especially because this one, there's like really no defending it.
There's really no defending... What? Okay. Really no defending what?
You can say that it's really bad for, it's super fucking trailer trash behavior to sit around and call, like, a 5-year-old kid the N-word.
Oh, wow. So he does see that maybe she might have done a little bit of a faux pas there.
It's disgusting to do that. But there's no universe in which this is even close to stabbing somebody in the chest and killing them.
What? Oh, Carmelo Anthony is a completely different person. And, yeah, he was, wait. Because Carmelo Anthony was the guy who was attacked by an armed white supremacist and defended himself. And apparently that is one wrong turn, and therefore you have to donate huge amounts of money to a woman who racially abuses a 5-year-old? Like, how?
There's not even it's not even 1/100th of the problem.
Motherfucker, this guy is acting like it is out of the ordinary for somebody to make money for doing racism on a stream where he makes money for doing racism. Like, I mean, like, you acting like this is fucking unusual, like this is something that requires an extraordinary explanation. Motherfucker, this is your career. You've made a career out of being incoherently racist on YouTube. Hey, Phoenix Rising. Jesus, like, the more I watch of Asmongold Fish, the more it's like, wow. Oh yeah, I know, like, we did not need Carl Benjamin. There's enough bad shit already happening without there being Carl Benjamin.
Addict behavior. We shouldn't stab him. Yeah, it's not even remotely close. He was 10 years old? Well, it doesn't matter. I mean, even if it was an adult, it's still like, you shouldn't say that to somebody. It's distasteful behavior.
Oh, it's distasteful behavior. It's only distasteful.
It's bad, it's distasteful, it's racist. I don't agree with it, right? And so, yeah, but he stole from her? Yeah, but that's also bad. Like, the thing is, like, you can do two bad things, right? Like, he's a piece of shit and she's a piece of shit.
Wait, he's a fucking little kid, asshole.
Shit. If you're 10 years old and you're stealing people out of other people's... stealing things out of other people's bags, you're a piece of shit kid.
Like... Wow, God, this guy is lovely.
And you probably have piece of shit parents, too.
top.
I mean, we're just accepting that this is how this went down.
Rian says, yeah, fair enough, because during the LA riots, he was guarding his shop roof while black people rioted, burned down, and beat to death some white people.
I wonder if anything happened before that, actually, though.
Because of Rodney King. And...
Yeah, I know, he's like... And it took him 7 minutes to even allow us how maybe there was something bad about the fact that this woman racially abused this kid. And he still has not suggested that there's anything actually wrong with the fact that she made a shitload of money doing it.
Like I said, this can only go on forever, for so long. And people are going to start really, really, really getting resentful.
I wonder, yeah, it would be so... Can you imagine... if people might start getting resentful, like...
Now, the chap who was filming was apparently an accused sex offender from...
no.
From Somalia.
Well, I mean, according to Carl Benjamin.
He was, he and someone else will appear in court.
Yeah, like, there's nothing in this article that says that this is the same guy. He has just picked some random shit about some Somali guy.
Yeah. On May the 5th, after being accused of raping a 16-year-old after offering her a place to stay.
This has nothing to do... Like, there's absolutely nothing in here that says anything about this being the guy who was filming the thing.
That's a lot.
Yeah, I mean... it's... I mean, on a certain level... It's not a lot, though. Yes, it is a racist matryoshka. It is like levels of fucking nesting racism.
Right.
So, that's a whole lot.
I mean, it's a whole lot less than actual evidence that this guy is in any way anything to do with the guy who exposed this abusive racist woman you're so okay with.
Accused pedophile is wandering around a kid's play park.
Like, again, zero evidence provided this is the same guy. He just found a newspaper article about some Somalis in Minnesota, where there's a large Somali community, it's worth noting.
And films this.
I feel like that shouldn't happen.
Yeah, you mean libeling a guy who did a good deed and exposed a violent racist by just association with people who share the same national origin as him? Yeah, I don't think that should happen either, Assman Goldfish.
Yep.
Why is he there exactly?
Well, he wasn't there as far as we know, though. That was just... there is more than one Somali person in Minnesota, actually.
That strikes me as a bit weird, especially as in his...
No, I mean, it strikes me as a bit weird that fucking Carl Benjamin is still there. That's what I'm wondering about.
Defense, he says, well, I didn't do anything wrong, I've been accused. Someone says, why did a 16-year-old accuse you of picking her up at a whatever?
So wait, so...
Well, so somebody accused the guy.
He's Oh, this guy is a retard.
Oh, wait, so, like, just fucking random shot at people with disabilities in the midst of this. I mean, another one, considering that, I mean, he's also calling a 5-year-old autistic boy a piece of shit, which is a choice.
He's responding about his pending court case on Instagram?
I mean, assuming this is the same person, it's worth noting.
Oh, no. Yeah, he going to jail for sure. He done.
Oh, God. There's only so much of this crap I can take. So I think I am going to see what else we've got.
Hey everybody. Glad
This
to
is
be
Caleb
here.
Muppet in I'll Say This Before I Change My Mind, which is... That is such a decisive thing to say. I will say this before I change my mind about saying it. Like, okay.
With you tonight. We are on YouTube. Rumble isn't working, and that's annoying. And I'm not the only person who has had this frustration. Rumble is down, it seems. It's been down all day.
Wow, even Rumble can't take his shit.
Very disappointing indeed. I can get the page to come up, but I can't get StreamYard to connect with it. So yeah, we're on YouTube tonight. That's where we are, but we're glad to be here. So yeah.
What do you mean we? Like, it's just him.
Let's jump right into it. Glad you're all here.
Spoken of the American century.
Oh god, this thing again. Where he, like, likens himself to Fred Hampton.
Great late night chats tonight. Rumble isn't working, so I'm here on YouTube. Not sure how long I will go for, but hey.
What happened to his wardrobe? He's wearing a t-shirt. Like, shouldn't he be dressed like a vice principal at a junior high school?
You know, glad that we are here. Glad that we can have a conversation. Always something to talk about. You know, we're going to get into it. Obviously, you know, today is Victory Day, and there's a huge amount of activities. I mean, it's not Victory Day anymore in Russia right now. In 2 hours from now, it'll be May 10th. But, you know, I mean, a lot has happened today. And my social media feed, you know, Twitter and you know, YouTube. I mean, there's just so much, so many amazing fireworks and celebrations, military parades, different world leaders, Ibrahim Traore and Russian President Putin and Xi Jinping.
It's Traore.
And Kim Jong-un. And there's just so much happening.
Actually, Kim Jong-un was not at the Victory Day parade.
In Moscow right now, and I will just warn you as I jump into this. I am not going to cover that tonight because I couldn't keep up with it. Right.
What's to keep up with? It's more or less the same event every year.
As we go through the next couple days, I'll be showing different clips that stand out, important moments. But today was kind of an overload of great, important anti-imperialist leaders giving speeches, great optics, fireworks, laying of wreaths at tombs. I mean, today it was Oscar-winning Victory Day. I mean,
wait, like, I'm not sure he understands how Oscars work.
This was something special. So, you know, I'm not going to attempt to give it...
Kinka? Like the fucking former foreign minister?
On tonight's stream. That's beyond what I can do for you tonight. Tonight, I will probably just be doing some reminiscing. But
oh, God.
Anyhow,
he's going to be reminiscing. Like, is he going to be talking about back during the first CPI, the one that kicked him out?
Yeah, I mean, it was just absolutely amazing, and there's so much that I could say, and I'm just not prepared to give my review of the event tonight. I'm just not prepared to do that, right? I mean, I will, you know, give you highlights in the coming days, but tonight, there's no way I could do the event justice.
You can watch the entire fucking event on YouTube, though. I mean... This is not the only place to go. If you want to watch the Victory Day commemorations, they're all over YouTube. Like, the whole thing.
Send questions to Caleb Moppin 22 on Cash App. That's how I accept questions tonight. So if you got any questions, that's the place to send them. And I'll do opening remarks for a little while.
Wait, so that wasn't the opening remarks? What was that then? That was the pre-opening remarks? That was the fumbling around with his keys so we could find the keys to open the remarks with?
You know, and then we'll do a roll call, and then I'll answer
a fucking roll call.
People might have.
He really is a fucking junior high school principal.
And then we'll be done. You know, I'm in kind of an interesting mood tonight, you know.
You always are, Caleb.
You know, very happy to see the tremendous gathering in Moscow, and I'm going to be reflecting on that in the coming days.
This reminds me of how he gave this speech at a meeting of French and Russian fascists at a conference in Moscow over a decade ago. And he was explaining how he started to realize that he was a very different sort of boy, unlike a lot of the leftists he surrounded himself with, because what he was really into was watching armies goose step on parade. And a lot of leftists had this thing about communism that they were much more interested in, but he was mostly there for the goose stepping.
Sure, I'm going to have a lot more to say about that in the future. Right now, I'm just kind of trying to process it, and it's starting to seem like summer, spring here in New York City, but it's very rainy.
I'm glad we haven't for the.
And, I got a lot of different things going on, but here we are. So I wanted to just for my opening remarks, I wanted to reminisce.
Very gonna
briefly about my
reminisce.
Time in Cleveland. Before I moved to New York City, I lived in Cleveland. Now, Cleveland, Ohio is an industrial city on the Cuyahoga River.
Oh, I love that he's introducing the concept of Cleveland to people. The Merriam-Webster dictionary defines Cleveland as...
and on Lake Erie. It's where the Cuyahoga River meets Lake Erie in the northern part of Ohio, northeast Ohio. And I lived there. I grew up.
Which is right near Michigan and Indiana and adjacent also to Kentucky and West Virginia and Pennsylvania as well. Is he just gonna...
From a small town, but then I went to college near Cleveland, and I lived in Cleveland for a while. Did a lot of activism in Cleveland. And Cleveland, had been, historically, if you go back in time to
you mean like the way history works, where you're going back in time as opposed to forward?
Before I was born, we're talking about the 60s and 70s, Cleveland had been a center of anti-war activism. And it had been an industrial city. There were steel mills down by the river. There were big steel mills down by the river. Now those, when I was...
How does it count as reminiscing when you're talking about shit that happened before you were born?
Those steel mills had been replaced by a giant Walmart. They had a Walmart, like a complex, like a road, and there was a big Walmart down there, a big...
And there was a Perkins right nearby it, and it was one of the big Walmarts. It was one of those where you got a bunch of different entrances, but they all greet you just the same way, whichever one you go in, folks. Whichever one you go in. And everybody is massively underpaid, folks. And next to that, there was a Blockbuster Video. You don't remember those probably, but there were videos, and they bought them at Blockbuster. Like
Sam's Club, and they called this place Steel Yards Common, where they had a bunch of low-wage, big box stores that had replaced the industrial center. But Cleveland, historically, right? Cleveland was...
How is this reminiscing?
Town. A lot of Eastern European immigrants moved to Cleveland. Cleveland, there had been rioting there in 1919 on...
Well, now he's reminiscing about shit that's shit back in 1919? This is not how reminiscing works, Caleb.
May 1st, there had been a communist parade by the early formed Communist Party, and there had been a fight, and there was rioting all through Cleveland on May 1st. One of the early years.
I don't understand how anyone is captivated by this guy. He just rambles. He knew he was going to be talking for 2 hours on this stream, and he's got absolutely no structure to it at all. It's just, well, I feel like reminiscing as my opening remarks. And folks, I'm from a Cleveland. Well, I'm not actually from a Cleveland. I'm from a place near a Cleveland, but I went to a Cleveland after that. Cleveland is a city in the Ohio, which is a state, which is right near other states, and also if you go north, Canada eventually. And back in 1919, which is way before I was born, there was rioting and there were communists.
Of the Communist Party, Charles Ruthenberg was from Cleveland. He was a German guy of German descent.
A German guy. A guy of German descent. Wow, I mean, like, just such captivating oratory.
Lived in Cleveland. He was one of the founders of the Communist Party.
You said that already. And he was a guy, and he was of German descent. And he was a German descent guy who founded the Communist Party in Cleveland, which is on Lake Erie and the Cuyahoga River.
Frequently arrested and indicted for being a communist. In court pretty frequently. Charles E. Ruthenberg, and that, you know, there were a lot of Eastern European foreign language federations and stuff that were communist sympathetic in the 1920s and 30s. And then as you got up into the 60s... this still is not reminiscing. He was not born in the 60s. I don't think he was born till the 80s. You know, in the 50s and 60s, you know, in Cleveland you had the black side of town, which was East Cleveland, or East Side. And then you had the white side of town that was largely Eastern European, which was the West Side.
By process of elimination, you could say.
And in the middle of the East Side, you had a place called Cleveland Heights.
Hello, Riveroon.
And Cleveland Heights is...
And eventually there would be a sitcom set there called Drew Carey. And it had a theme song called Cleveland Rocks.
Case Western Reserve University is, which is a quite prestigious college. And Cleveland Heights is this...
Not the one he went to.
White hippie enclave in the center of the east side of Cleveland, which is largely African-American. And that was where leftist activism was. You know, the Revolutionary Communist Party had a bookstore there. There were anarchist groups that operated in the area. There was, you know, Cleveland Heights was kind of a hippie leftist area. It was becoming gentrified while I was there. There was a bookstore.
Pure coincidence, I'm sure.
Max Bax, that was known to be a communist sympathetic bookstore. The Revolutionary Communist Party had their bookstore. And
known to be a communist sympathetic bookstore, like, what was the bookstore keeping it a secret? Did you have to, like, ask for capital under the table after giving an elaborate fucking secret handshake?
You know, it was an area, you know, Cleveland Heights.
It was an area.
You know, Mayfield, Coventry.
I'm gonna list neighborhoods in Cleveland now. Parma. Summit County's around there somewhere.
Area, the Coventry neighborhood of Cleveland Heights. It was a center of left-wing activism. There was a Unitarian church that had hosted, you know, Howard Zinn.
And I think there was a Pizza Hut and a Burger King nearby.
Like that. That was where leftism was.
You said that already, though. Like, when do we get into the point of the fucking story?
There was a group of older folks who had been in the Communist Party or around the Communist Party USA before, and they would do a peace vigil every Sunday or every Saturday at the West Side Market. They would have a small peace demonstration. You know, and they had a lot of those folks had been in the Communist Party USA earlier. They were not with it anymore. There was a guy who was a Communist Party USA member who ran Dennis Kucinich's office. His name was Rick Nagin. I guess he was technically...
Dennis Kucinich is what the Democrats used as a sheepdog candidate before Occupy Wall Street happened and Bernie Sanders became the guy.
Employed by one of the unions, and his job was to run the communist, the office of Dennis Kucinich, the member of the U.S. Congress. You know,
and previous
was,
mayor.
You know, 10 or 12 people who met in Rick's living room and campaigned for Democrats and were involved in the labor union scene and local government campaign for Democrats. The RCP was there, and there were members of the RCP in Cleveland who had gone to jail for lighting an American flag on fire. There was a woman who had...
Like, what's the point of this fucking story?
During the Gulf War, she had burned an American flag, and she had been... in prison for 2 years, even though the Supreme Court said it was legal. They said she had incited violence, caused a riot by burning the flag. You know, the Socialist Workers Party had a bookstore in Cleveland for a long time. About the time I got there, it had just shut down.
Yeah, there's probably a Barnes and Noble there too, and there's a lot of parking in Cleveland. You'll have no trouble finding a place to park your car when you get there.
The Workers' World Party that I was in, they had 4 or 5 people in Cleveland. There was an anarchist collective.
Wait, the Workers' World Party had 4 or 5 people in all of Cleveland? That's impressive.
Like young, 20s, 30s anarchists who were inspired by the WTO protests and such. And there was just, there's kind of a leftist scene in Cleveland.
It's funny, like the stuff that he will spend hours elaborating on, like what a Cleveland is. And he doesn't think maybe to his largely fairly young audience, you'd have to elaborate on what the deal with the WTO protests are, because the summit protests, that's a while ago, and that just kind of stopped fairly abruptly. Mostly because they started moving the summits to dictatorships where it would be impossible to actually have a protest of any kind. But, he'll spend that long explaining the concept of Cleveland to you, but he doesn't feel the need to explain why anarchists would be inspired by the WTO protest. Not that he would understand it. Actually, I'm kind of fine with him not explaining it, thinking about it, because he's going to get it wrong.
And I remember, I'm going to show you, there were a lot of people that were not in any communist group.
So, Cleveland also has a lot of people who aren't in communist groups. Just so you know, if you go to Cleveland, a lot of the people there aren't in any communist groups.
That would go on the bus to all the
But they go on the bus.
The anti-war rallies
Oh.
against the war in Iraq that would happen pretty frequently in Washington, D.C. And there'd be buses from Cleveland. It's an 8-hour bus ride, to Washington, D.C. for these rallies. And there was a crew of people that were not in any communist group.
Well, you just said that.
But they were old movement people, right? They were, they knew the different communist groups. They'd been around different groups. They read a lot of communist-y books, and they went to anti-war
Communist-y
rallies.
books.
And they were, they were older folks. A lot of them smoked a lot of weed, kind of hippies, and they had.
Well, his background, he was involved with, the WWP for a while, and he has previously, sucked up to the RCP, because they are a much more effective cult of personality than he is, because he doesn't have a personality. But, yeah.
Stories to tell. And I remember those guys, in particular, they had some wild stories. Now,
so his reminiscences aren't so much about a worthwhile story that he has. He has to reminisce about how he once knew some guys in Cleveland who had good stories that he is not going to tell very well.
One of the first thing I'm going to show you all, because I figure I might as well show a video before I start telling.
Yeah, anything to stop you telling us this, because I don't think you even know where you're going with it.
Handed down to me. I will show video, because this one happened while I was living there, right? Around the time, just before Barack
Just show a fucking video!
Elected, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. There was this. They had a 24-hour peace encampment in downtown Cleveland. I guess in downtown Cleveland you have the Soldiers and Sailors Monument that is in Public Square in Cleveland. It's a very patriotic monument. And many people were.
I'm watching the clock to see how, now that he said he's going to just show the video, how long it takes him to set the video up.
Iraq, and so, as Barack Obama was running for president and Bush was preparing to leave office, they decided they were going to have, a 24-hour encampment. They got a permit from the city to have a peace encampment at the Soldiers and Sailors Monument in downtown Cleveland for...
It's such a wonder that none of this stopped the fucking wars.
For, like...
Yeah, asking for a fucking... this is... So we're talking about, what, 5 years after the anti-war movement famously did not actually stop the war against Iraq. Didn't really even particularly try all that hard to stop the one in Afghanistan either. And they're still just getting fucking permits for vigils in Cleveland. And it's like, yeah, I mean... That really says everything about why it took so long for anything to really get going here.
A couple weeks, right? And they would just be there 24 hours a day with this encampment.
I mean, I'm not blaming them specifically, I should be clear, because, nearly all of us who were around and involved in any kind of activism at the time share at least a little bit of the blame for this sort of overall culture. Oh, sorry to hear that, Phoenix. Well, I mean...
And I was there, and a lot of homeless people just would come and hang out, and it was just different groups agreed to staff it at different times. And, it was just kind of these old hippies hanging out, and they had a big, tent with peace signs on it, bring the troops home from Iraq. It was just kind of a thing, right? That was the spirit of the times, Cindy Sheehan, whatever. But a wild thing actually happened.
Wow, so finally, 16 minutes into this, he's going to talk about a thing that actually happened.
Which is that, I'll just show you the video.
How many more minutes of non-exposition are you going to subject us to first? I know how that can be, Phoenix.
Because there's a news report of this. I was not there the night this happened.
So, you're not reminiscing so much as you're talking about some shit you missed.
Goodness. But I honestly still don't know what to make of this. So, whatever you want to make of this, I mean, I'll give you some of my thoughts. Before.
More of them? I think we've had enough of your thoughts, though. What is Black Fayday DC?
Before but let's put the video on. Here it is. All right, this is an actual news report from March 10th, 2007, from Cleveland, Ohio.
Watch this amateur video closely, and you'll see a mysterious white light flying above Key Tower.
Wait, is he saying that there was a UFO? Is that it?
And Phillips recorded this video in the early morning hours of Saturday, March 10th.
It was making maneuvers. It was going really weird. It was just shooting out and coming back and going towards the light. And
okay, so what the fuck does this have to do with anything?
I've never seen anything like
A
this.
similar sighting was made the following night, but this is...
how... Okay, this is why... I feel like I'm surprised that I did not hear about this. The combination of weird hippie UFO shit, Ohio anti-war encampment. I would have expected this to have heard about this sooner. Oh, that sucks that you were too tired to go. That actually sounds like a really cool event. I mean, especially since it's the sort of fantasy community as a whole is so just fucking extremely white. I mean, that sounds like a really cool event. It's too bad you didn't get to go. Although I get being too tired.
Identified object in the air.
I wasn't afraid, but I felt like something zapped my energy because I slept 3 days after that.
No lights flying above Key Tower tonight, but Phillips said what he saw that he captured on DVD made him appear because there was a peace
Now Caleb is gonna have to explain to us what DVD is.
rally going on down below.
I believe it was a UFO that came to the beings vigil because peace is the universal faith. And we are dire straits on this planet. And we need any little bit of help that we can get, from this planet or beyond.
Wow.
Philip says he's contacted police, hoping someone will be able to explain.
He called the cops on the space comrades? Well, that is a whole new level of snitching. Gonna call the cops on the UFO. What the fuck are the cops gonna do? Beat up E.T.?
What he and close to a dozen others saw.
I want an explanation. I want to know, what it's like to do on top of a building in the age of terror.
So far, no answers, only questions, and intrigue about what may still be out there up above. In Cleveland, Denise Strelzik, 19 Action News.
Yep. The 24-hour peace encampment was visited by a UFO.
And he wasn't there for it, so it does not count as reminiscing, but...
what was that? I don't know, the drone thing had just started, if you remember correctly, the drone warfare, so maybe...
I mean, remote control aeroplanes existed before that.
They were testing a drone above the Key Tower in downtown. I don't know what it was. But, it had everybody talking. Everyone's like, oh my goodness, we had our 24-hour peace encampment. That guy Sam Phillips, who you saw in there, he's the guy who filmed the UFO. And I guess he had a show on local access television. He was just kind of a well-known, hippie in the area. He liked to wear Bush masks and Cheney masks and Richard Nixon masks.
So he would like to wear a lot of masks.
Stuff, and he was just a local, activist, guy, and you heard him there, I think it's a universal message of peace, man.
Do they offer to provide any assistance, or do they just talk about this shit, not offer to to even discuss how to make that possible if you were to decide that that was necessary, and expect you to just sort of sit here listening to them talk about an option that they're doing nothing to assist you in having?
There was a lot of people like that, and I still to this day we don't know what it was. I think they were testing a drone. My theory is that drone warfare was starting to get going, and they were testing a drone, and they figured, hey, let's just test a drone. There was something they were on the top.
That didn't look like a drone, though.
Or flying a drone around, doing military experiments with a drone. That's what I would assume was happening.
What the fuck does this have to do with anything?
They didn't release it, but I mean, who knows? Who knows? Could have been anything, right? Could have been anything, right? But that was one incident that I was there when that happened.
I thought you just said you weren't there.
But that guy Sam Phillips in particular, he had an amazing story that I heard. I loved this, right? Because Ronald Reagan died.
Yay!
Died when I was in high school. And for him, the funeral of Ronald Reagan was a big aha moment. And he told this story.
Passports are expensive in this country.
It is one of the wildest stories I've ever heard. Ronald Reagan died in 2004.
Right now, it's worth noting, there is an injunction to stop the enforcement of that bullshit policy that Trump came up with, where they were reverting everybody's gender markers. So right now there is a court order saying that they have to give you one with your correct gender, which...
And this guy, he would always tell the story, man, I heard on
is this all he's going to talk about?
I finally figured it out, man. I figured it out what happened when Ronald Reagan died. So I guess his story was that years ago, in the 1980s, when Ronald Reagan was president of the United States, Ronald Reagan came to Cleveland. And he and the other hippies, leftist activists, were protesting against Ronald Reagan. They were outside the college or wherever Ronald Reagan was speaking, and they were having a peace demonstration.
Okay, we're talking about Ronald Reagan. How are we talking about Ronald Reagan?
And according to him, some guy in a cowboy hat came up to them, and some guy in a cowboy hat came up to them and was arguing with them. He was a conservative guy in a cowboy hat, he was.
Well, I mean, the U.S. does have overall an extremely low standard for the treatment of its population.
Arguing with Sam, the hippie, and other people, and so Sam, to be funny, right? He sees this guy in a cowboy hat, and he just started shouting, "Rawhide, rawhide!"
What the fuck?
Right? Because that's like an old TV show, I guess. Rawhide, right? And the guy's in a cowboy outfit, so he starts saying really loud, "Rawhide, rawhide, rawhide!" And then he said every Secret Service agent in the world started running over to them. There were so many. He was surrounded by Secret Service agents out of the blue, like hundreds of, like he said there were like all these guys in suits, and they immediately grabbed the guy in the cowboy hat who was bothering him, and they're like, you need to leave this man alone, and all this. And the Secret Service guys were like suddenly like protecting him, right?
Protect what, Reagan or the fucking rawhide guy?
From this right-wing guy in the cowboy hat. All he had to do was shout, "Rawhide, rawhide," and all of a sudden, the Secret Service like swarmed on the area and protected Sam. And
what is this about?
Hey, you stay away from this man. And he's like, "What in the world happened?" Well, so apparently, when Ronald Reagan died, he was sitting there in his living room watching Ronald Reagan's funeral. And at Ronald Reagan's funeral, they mentioned what Ronald Reagan's Secret Service code name was. Rawhide. So apparently...
This is just... Is he going to ramble like this for all 2 hours and 11 minutes?
They thought he was, like, giving a signal or something. When he started shouting "Rawhide" at this guy... He started shouting "Rawhide, rawhide." They thought he was like setting off, they thought he was alerting the Secret Service that there was danger or something. So, and the president was there.
I thought the president was dead. Like, what danger to his fucking corpse?
All the Secret Service in the world ran over, and what can we? And they thought he must be an undercover Secret Service agent or something. And he would tell that story. That was his favorite story.
I mean, I will say, that is an epic story. That is hilarious. I don't understand how he's just, like, the level of ramble at this point. I'm not even sure how he got on this.
Day that, that he shouted "Rawhide" at Ronald Reagan's, outside of Ronald Reagan's event, and how it took him, it wasn't until years later, when Ronald Reagan died, that he found out that Rawhide was Ronald Reagan.
Oh, okay. So I thought that... Okay, so Ronald Reagan was alive at the time, and he didn't... I was like, why would the Secret Service would be swarming people when Reagan was already dead?
Reagan's code name for the Secret Service. I think that's a great story. That's an awesome story, and that guy, Sam Phillips, I have to give him credit. That was his story, and he's the guy who filmed the UFO. And that he was like, there were a lot of guys like him. They're all dead now. I hate to say that. I think Sam is still alive, bless his heart. But
so they're not all dead.
There were a lot of guys like that, just kind of old hippie guys who smoked a lot of weed and did a lot of protesting. Were kind of sarcastic.
We're 23 minutes into this. I still have no idea. This I should just remember is called "I'm going to say this before I change my mind." And, like... What?
Hey man, what's going on? They kind of talk that way. Another story that I heard, and this was an interesting one.
Yeah, I mean... I'm glad to hear that about Maryland. I've never been completely sure about the place.
Is that there were a couple?
I went to Ocean City once when I was 4 and spent a night on a stoop in Baltimore when I was at university in DC because I was trying to find this club. So I ended up like getting stranded there overnight and having no place to go, and so I know very little about Maryland, so I'm glad to hear that.
All of these guys who done
hear that about it.
They've been involved with various communist groups and stuff, and they, after the Freedom of Information Act came out, when you could get any, you had the right to see any files the FBI had on you, right? They went to the FBI and they got their FBI files, and their FBI files, just here are pictures of them at peace demonstrations, pictures of them, at communist events or whatever. But then,
and I'm just noticing the time, and it is really. Oh yeah, Silver Spring I'm familiar with. When I was at uni in D.C., I had a friend who lived in the Silver Spring area. I once got stuck in the metro station there because I had just enough to get on my metro card to get on the train, and I didn't have enough to get off of it, and I had to through a series of elaborate gestures, managed to get my friend to come from, he was below the station area to help me out of the station. But I just noticed the time. So it is time to start wrapping up. Thank you to everyone who joined in. I hope you enjoyed the stream. This has been a sort of a weird stream. We've jumped about a little bit. And it's sort of a weird weekend because we sort of missed the first day of it because I got lost in the woods and all sorts of other things. But always good to see you, and I will be back at 11:30 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time this coming Friday. Oh, well, that's good that you can ride the train for free. I didn't actually know that they had that. That's better than expected. Have a good night and a good rest of your weekend. And I guess I'll see you in the Discord until then. Yeah, I mean, it's always good to see all of you, including, it's always nice to see you, Phoenix.